Hi guys, this is Sai Kumar Kortiwada. In this video, we will learn about CSS selectors. So what are the different types of CSS selectors and what is the purpose of using CSS selector? We will learn completely about this in this particular video. Let me quickly jump into one more slide. Here, I'll explain you what we'll cover in this video. First thing, what is a selector? Selector is very useful whenever you are targeting for a particular element and if you want to apply a specific style for a particular element. At that particular time, we will use this selectors. And there are different types of selectors like element selector, ID selector, class selector, universal selector, group selector, attribute selector. So we'll discuss each and every selector with an example. So let's target with element selector. So let me quickly jump into Visual Studio Code, and here what we'll do is we'll apply a element selector. For example, if I want to target an element in the HTML document, then I can use element selector. Let me go here and apply H1, and I will apply something like color as red and save this. Now I have two H1s. For example, let me copy this H1 and let me make this as sample testing. So now I'm applying on an element. Let me go here, reload, and you can see this color red has been applied for all the elements. So let me use a div, and inside this div also I'll try to keep a h1 tag, the same h1 tag. Let me cut this and put it over here. Here the h1 is not targeted directly. That means it is not on the top level of the body, even though the element selector will apply. Let me reload this and you can see the element selector has been applying that particular styles for this particular element. So that is how you can use an element selector. If you want to target any of the element, then the element selector can be used for this. But remember, whenever you are trying to target a element, then all the elements with that specific element name will be targeted. So that's why be careful whenever you are trying to use a element selector. So now let me go with the next selector. The next selector is ID selector. For example, you have a same example H1 and H1, but you want to target only the first one with its ID. So let me give an ID where the ID is first heading, and I want to target only this particular ID, not this particular H1 tag. So now what I'll do is let me copy this, and instead of using this H1 as an element selector, I can use ID selector. The ID select can be implemented by using a hash which indicates an ID and followed by the ID. So let me save this, and now I'm targeting only the first heading of that ID. Let me go here and reload. If you are using the same ID for some other elements, then it will be applied for other as well. Let me go here and reload. Now it has been applied for this as well. But in general, ID is a unique identifier. We will be using an ID unique for particular element. So it is not always recommended to use the same ID for different elements. So ID will be one and that will be a unique one. So that's why whenever you apply a specific CSS to that ID, it would be specific to that element. So that is about your ID selector. Now the case is class selector. So whenever you want to apply the styles based on the class applied on this particular elements, you can do that by using a class attribute. I can apply some set of red. This is my class. For example, class is indicated by dot, so followed by the class name, and that is red. And let me give something like color as red. So here if you observe, we are not depending either on element either on ID. We are depending on the class names. So let me copy this class and put it over here, save this. Now what will happen, the red color will be applied only for H1. Let me go here and reload. And the advantage of using classes is something like you can create, for example, I want to apply some set of padding. So let me give padding top as 10. So I want to apply a padding top of 10 pixel. So I want to apply this padding. So you can apply multiple classes for a single element. Let me copy this and put it over here and save this. Let me go here and reload. You got a padding which is of 10 pixel on the top. So I have applied two classes. For example, I have applied one more class called as blue color. So color is equal to blue. What will happen in this case? Let me save this and just copy this blue and put it in the last. Save this and go here and reload. Now it applied blue. Why? Because the first class will be overridden with the last class. That means here the color is same for red and blue classes. That means the color property is same but the value is different. So it will always accept the last value. So the last value is blue. So hence the red color will be overridden with this blue color. So that is why we are able to see the blue color on the classes. So you can apply multiple classes and the class can be applied with a dot. And let me go to the slide. What is the next one? We have universal selector. Whenever you want to apply a color as universal, that means whole text should be changed into red color for throughout the document. Then you can use a star operator and then we can go with the color of red. So then whatever the text you are writing on the document, all the text values will be changed with the color of red. Let me reload and you can see the red color and just go here, write a paragraph and even you can see the paragraph as red color. That means all the elements will have a text color as red. So that is how you can use a universal selector. So that means universal selector helps to change throughout the document. And now let me remove this universal selector and let me apply some other selector. So for example, there is something called as grouped selector. Already we know something about a table. Let me clear this classes and let me create a table, and the table contains a tr and inside that you have a th where you have heading, and let me copy the same tr and put it over here. This is td with some value td, and this is something like a value. Save this. Now let me go here and reload. You got heading and a value, but that is not having a border. So let's apply a border for this table and the tr and th and td as a grouped selector. So I want to group all this. I want to group all the element selectors. So let me go with table, th, td and tr. For all this I am trying to apply a border of 1 pixel solid black and save this. Now go here and reload. Now you can see it has been applied for all. That means whenever you want to group some set of elements or some set of IDs or some set of different selectors, then you can group by using a comma. So by using a comma, I have separated all these element selectors. So that's about your grouped selectors. So we can group some set of elements. So let me remove this and let me remove this table. That is about the grouped selector. Now let's talk about attribute selector. Attribute selector is something like based on the attribute you can apply some set of styles. For example, I have an input field with type as text and save this. Let me go here and reload. Now you can see you can type some set of value and the color of that particular label or the value whatever we are typing in that input field is black color. I want to change that color. So how can we change that? It is very simple. Let me go into our CSS and I'm applying on an input field where my type is equal to text. So whenever my type is equal to text, I want to change the color to red. So let me save this and go here, reload, type something, you can see the red color. But for example, you have an input field, the same input field, but you have a password. So whenever you have a password, then the password will be in black color and the text will be in red color. Why? Because we are applying based on the attribute. My attribute is equivalent to type as text. That's why you are able to apply only for the text input fields. So that is how you can use your attribute properties. By using attributes also we can try to apply some set of colors or any of the styles for our HTML elements. So that is how you can use this selectors. And always remember this selectors has a pattern. So that means whenever you have a selector which is important and which is not important and what should be applied, what not should be applied. For example, let me go with this input where I want to apply an ID where the ID is text ID. This is my ID and I have a class for this. So let me use input as a class, and now I have something like universal selector. So I have all selector on a single element. For example, I have a star where the color is red. This is one thing, and I want to apply something like a text with an ID. So let me go with an ID. So hash, and I want to give an text ID where the color is green, and I have one more class called as input, and let me give a color as gray. So I have this three, and I want to give an attribute value. So input with, or just give a element selector. So let me give a color as blue, and let me go with input with a specific attribute. So type is equal to text, and let me go with a color of yellow and save this. Now this is my input field. I have changed different colors. For now, first thing, I'll just comment this, and then I'll check on this three basis. So which is the top priority, either green, gray, blue. Let me go here and reload, and now let me type something. It is green. That means ID selector is the top priority. So what I'll do is I'll just comment this ID. So which is the next priority? So let me go here, reload and type something. You are getting a gray color. That means a class selector is the next priority. So let me comment this and go here and reload and type something. You are getting a blue color. Blue color is coming from element selector. By this, what we understand is ID is the top priority, and then it followed by class selector, and then it is followed by element selector, and then it is followed by star, that is universal selector. So let me use it as universal. Comment this. Now let me comment this, and then it will pick the universal selector. Let me go here and reload. So you can see the universal selector. That means this is the order which we are following. For now, let me uncomment all this. That means ID and class and element. By this, what we understand is the top priority is ID. Now we have an ID, and also we have something like a attribute selector. So what will be applied when we are using attribute versus ID? So let me go here and reload. Let me type something. It is green color, even though the attribute will be less priority compared to ID. So let me comment this as well. Now we'll see class or attribute. Let me go here and reload, type something. It is yellow. So when you come to attribute, instead of ID, whenever you are using an attribute, you are specifically mentioning this is the particular element which we want to change. So that's why ID is greater than attribute and attribute is greater than class, because we are specially mentioning this attribute has to be changed. So this attribute element has to be applied with this particular styles. In that cases, attribute will be the priority. And now, for example, I want to go with inline style. So let me go and apply an inline style with a color as something like maroon and save this. So now go here, save this. Let me go here and reload and type something. It is in maroon color. Why? Because always the inline style will always the priority compared to all other selectors. Let me go here, and you can go here into the CSS. You can say that inline style is greater than an ID. So this is how the pattern works. But if I want to apply any of this in the middle, that means I want to override all the cases and I want to make the prioritized value without following this rule. If I don't want to follow that rule, just use not important. Whenever you are using not important, even if you have an inline style, the not important value will be the priority. Let me go here and reload and type something. It is in yellow color, even though you have an inline style. So that's how you can use not important. So what I can say is not important is greater than inline style is greater than ID, greater than attribute, greater than class, greater than element, greater than universal. So that is how these rules will be executing, and you can use some set of selectors in this manner. So that's how the selector works, and hope this gave you a brief understanding of selectors and what are the rules we follow for the selector. We'll see some more selectors and how to use different types of classes in the upcoming video. Hope you like my explanation. If you like my video, like, share, subscribe to my channel for more updates. Signing off. Thank you.